Hello guys, welcome to the Blue Hat Productions 500 subscriber special. Never really done a subscriber special. Don't know what the fuck that was. Never really done a subscriber special before, but I figured 500 subs, it's a big enough milestone. It's also the holiday season, so I might as well give back to you guys for all the great support over the years. Even though at the time of recording this, we just hit 600 subs, a lot of that was, you know, an influx of viewership from the Beatles reaction video, so I know that this is not music related, but I know a lot of you guys are into VHS and watch a lot of my VHS videos, so I'm going to show you guys my humble little VHS collection. We're gonna first go with box sets and then single tapes, which I'm labeling as classics, and then we can get into custom tapes and the rarities, but we'll save all the more interesting stuff for the end. Just if you guys want to put this video on in the background, if you guys want to hear me talk about some of my favorite movies, then yeah, this video is for you. Sit back and relax, and if you guys don't like hearing me talk, then I don't know why you're here. So let's get into it. So the first set that I want to show is this set. Whenever it comes to VHS, I always like to think of Star Wars, just because Star Wars is infamous for all of its different releases over the years, but this, in my opinion, is the quintessential Star Trek tape set. I'm not gonna go super in-depth with the Star Wars tapes, because there's a ton of videos on YouTube already kind of highlighting all the different releases over the years, but this is, I think, the best one to get if you guys are looking for the original unaltered trilogy, just because these tapes are about as original as they get, but they've also been remastered with THX, and they're in widescreen, so of course they're also in VHS quality. And then going into the other Star Wars sets that I have, this is the oldest one. This is from like 1990, I think. This is actually how I watched the original trilogy for the first time unaltered. You know, I used to watch, I don't know if you guys can see it, but these are the 2004 DVDs over here. This is how I would watch the original trilogy as a kid, but then my dad dug this out so I could watch the original versions with, you know, the original effects and everything. So this was actually how I watched the, I don't even know like what you would call them. Original trilogy, yeah, sure, that's fine. But yeah, these are pan and scanned full screen, and I watched it on our flat screen TV in the living room like 10 years ago. It was an experience. I marathoned them all in a row. These are the 97 special editions with the, with Luke falling after the big reveal in Empire, and it's the Emperor's scream for some reason. And this also has the absolutely abysmal Jabba the Hutt CGI in A New Hope. That's honestly the most notable part about this release, is how genuinely awful that Jabba looks. And then similarly, this is the last Star Wars box set that I have. This is from 2000, I think, and these were the reissues of the 97 special editions to match with the prequel releases, which we'll get into, well, actually right now, because I have this counted as a box set, even though it's only one tape, but this is like the collector's edition widescreen of Phantom Menace. People always talk shit about Phantom Menace, and honestly, in hindsight, I don't know why. Phantom Menace is a top 5 Star Wars movie. Granted, it is barely a top 5 Star Wars movie, but you guys are gonna fucking crucify me for saying this, but Phantom Menace is on par with Revenge of the Sith. I don't care. But yeah, this also comes with an art book and also a film reel. And funny enough, I don't know if each edition came with their own unique film reel, but I got the one talking about midichlorians, so I always thought that was funny that I got the tape release with one of the most controversial Star Wars scenes in it, or at least it used to be controversial. Okay, up next, keeping with Lucasfilm, we have the Indiana Jones trilogy. Back when it was a trilogy, now it's not even a 4-movie series, it is a pentalogy with Dial of Destiny. But anyway, this is when we get into the real childhood nostalgia for me. These tapes were basically my holy bible as a kid, especially Temple of Doom. Temple of Doom was always my favorite growing up. You know, there's nothing really special about these tapes, other than the fact that they match with the Young Indiana Jones series, which I have 3 tapes of, but we'll get into those whenever we get into the single tapes. So yeah, not much to really say there. Up next we have speaking of pentalogies, we have this Star Trek set, 25th anniversary of the series. And this was before Star Trek 6 came out, so this actually only includes up to the Final Frontier. But yeah, I always really liked the look of this box set. This is one that I got off of eBay just a few years ago, so this is not a certified childhood hood classic, but this comes with a certificate from Gene Roddenberry, which I have on the top of my bookshelf. I don't have it in here, but it goes in there. And then it came with this collector's pin set, which is still sealed. Alright, up next, keeping with film franchises, and actually another pentology, we have the Rocky franchise. And actually, I'm filming this midway through November, so Thanksgiving's coming up, so I need to start watching the original Rocky again.
You want the bird? Go in the alley and eat the bird!
Because Rocky is a Thanksgiving movie, and also since it's November, that's why I'm growing out my shit stash again. This actually belonged to my grandfather, but he didn't have a use for it anymore, because no one uses VCRs anymore other than me and a few other weirdos watching this video. So yeah, I always really liked this set. It comes with like a little booklet talking about the history of the series. Also, since this is a film franchise that I never really talked about on the channel, this is one of my favorites, and I feel like I just need to do this hot take real quick. Out of these 5 movies, Rocky 4 is the worst, Rocky 5 is the second best Rocky sequel. So, take that as you will, crucify me, I don't care. I feel like a lot of people are gonna hate me after this video, but whatever. It's the internet, no one gives a shit. Okay, up next we have another eBay purchase. This is the Beatles Anthology 8-tape set. This one I'm very proud of because not only is it in great condition, a great, sturdy box, but I also snagged this thing for like $2. The listing on eBay was like $2.90 something cents and shipping was $5, so yeah, in other words, I basically robbed this thing from some poor soul. But yeah, this is actually the only way that I've watched the Beatles Anthology, and with the Now and Then video showing the remastered anthology footage, I'm really hoping within the next few years, maybe for the, what would it be, like the 30th anniversary for Anthology, they'll remaster this set, put it out on a Blu-ray. But yeah, one thing I really like about these tapes is that the art piece on the side, it all matches up with the covers. So the way that I used to have these set up, I don't know if I have a picture of it, but if I do, I'll pop it up on screen. I used to have it set up like this across the whole top shelf of my bookshelf. Up next we have our last legitimate box set. This is another one that I ordered off of eBay just a few years ago. This one I saw a Reddit post about it and I really liked, again, kind of similar to that, to the Star Trek tapes, how it has one continuous image along the side. I watched all these documentaries. They're each like 30 minutes long, each tape, and it really gives you the vibe of being like in a high school science classroom. I really like having these tapes on in the background just whenever I'm doing something else. And I really want to make a separate video about this set, because I want to make a video tying it to, like, liminal spaces and childhood and nostalgia and stuff. But if and when I do make that video, it'll be a while from now, because the channel's gonna get crazy next year. I'm gonna have an end-of-year update video coming out. And then, really, I don't know if this classifies as a box set, but this is, like, our connecting piece between box sets and the classics, you know, the single tapes. I have the Goodwill staple, Titanic. I literally just bought this like a week ago. I went into Goodwill and I saw it there, and like every Goodwill, that's always the stereotype, every Goodwill that you go into, because of how common this tape was, you're gonna find a Titanic in every single Goodwill, at least one copy of it. And every time I've gone into Goodwills for my entire life, I've always seen this tape. And finally, I ran into it last week, and something clicked in my brain. I was like, you know what? Even though I don't have a very big VHS collection, because of the YouTube channel, because the media itself has kind of given me a bit of an audience, I really owe it to myself to buy the staple Titanic, you know, 2-tape set. Everyone always jokes that tape 1 has the boobs and tape 2 has all the tragedy and death in it, which I think is accurate, I don't know, but Titanic is a fantastic movie. I've only seen it once, and that's honestly enough for me. It should basically be called Anxiety the Movie. But anyway, those are all the box sets. Now we can get into the single tapes. And starting off, we have my most sentimental tape of all time. Still in the original shrink wrap, this is the Star Trek Season 1 episode Data Lore, and this was my introduction to Star Trek. I was going to a store with my mom at the time, back when I was like 3 years old. I don't know exactly where we were, but they had tapes up on a shelf, and I was really wanting this tape for whatever reason, so my mom got it for me for a couple bucks, and I can quote this episode verbatim, basically. This is not the original one from my childhood. That one got lost. So I bought this one again around my 16th birthday, whenever I started getting into tape collecting again. Keeping with the Star Trek theme, we have Star Trek Generations. This is one that I picked up at a Goodwill. And then the final Star Trek tape that I have is Star Trek Nemesis from Asa Video Store. So when it comes to the Star Trek movies, the only ones I'm missing are 6, First Contact, and Insurrection. Okay, speaking of the last Star Trek movie on VHS, this is the last Star Wars movie on VHS, Attack of the Clones. It never got a widescreen release. This is a 4x3 pan and scan. Again, another Goodwill pickup. I figured since I have all the other movies on VHS, I might as well get Attack of the Clones. Up next, we have my last Star Wars tape, From Star Wars to Jedi. This is like the OG of the OG, made in like the early 80s. Yeah, the copyright on here is 1983. Covers the making of Star Wars and then Empire and Return of the Jedi. And this one, I think the slipcover is obviously long gone, but the label itself matches the set that I showed earlier. So yeah, this is a nice little bonus tape to have. And then going back to Indiana Jones, this is young Indiana Jones Treasure of the Peacock's Eye. This is the original one from my childhood, and this one actually came bundled with the trilogy set that I showed you guys. And to be quite honest with you, this thing was more my Bible than the original trilogy itself, because I watched this thing even more than Temple of Doom. I don't know if it was because I was younger, so I identified with a younger Indiana Jones, a more naive version of the character. That's looking too far into it. That's definitely not the case. But yeah, so you can tell I was a little art master, scribbling on the labels with orange crayon. My original copy of Star Trek's Data Lore was like this too. I remember across the label it had orange colored pencil. But anyway, yeah, this tape means a lot to me. This is also why I hold the Young Indiana Jones series in such high regard. I will die on the hill that Sean Patrick Flannery is as much Indiana Jones as Harrison Ford. Then keeping in line with Young Indiana Jones, these are the other 2 tapes that I have. This is Chapter 17, Masks of Evil, and this is Chapter 22, Hollywood Follies. So the reason why I have these 2 tapes is because right here, these are all the bootlegs of the Young Indiana Jones show that I got back in like 2008 for like my 5th birthday, because I was weird like that. And they did not release all these on VHS, they only released about like half of them. Masks of Evil, I watched my bootleg DVD of that so many times that I got lost. So a couple years down the road, I bought the tape of it. Then whenever my dad got me these bootlegs, they came with every episode but Hollywood Follies, the last edition in the series, so I bought the tape of this at the same time I bought this. Actually, they came from the same eBay seller because of the Hollywood Video stickers on the corners of both tapes. Yeah, Hollywood Follies I don't have much to say about. Masters of Evil, I have a history with this episode. Basically, at the end of each tape, so meaning this tape, they had a commercial of every Young Indiana Jones tape that you could get, so this one I was always drawn to because of the vampire in it.
In Chapter 17, Masks of Evil, Indiana Jones finds that the face of evil isn't always human on a terrifying trek from Istanbul to Transylvania.
And whenever I got around to watching it, it scared the ever-loving shit out of me. Even to this day, I have nightmares of this dude chasing me around with an axe. So yeah, childhood trauma, the tape. And I used music from this episode in one of my short films, Intruder on Waters Avenue, so nice little trivia bit for you there. Okay, up next, moving away from franchises, we have Apollo 13. I've only seen this movie once, but very good, based on a true story. Has Tom Hanks in it. Woody. Can't really hate Tom Hanks. Diving right back into franchises, we have Jurassic Park. Haven't seen any of the other ones, including the newer Jurassic World movies. There's really not a whole lot to this movie. A lot of the appeal of it is just the CGI dinosaurs, you know. I've watched this movie like 3 times, and 2 of those times have been in theater-like settings. So when it comes to watching a movie like this in that setting, yeah, Jurassic Park is pretty damn good. So I came across this tape at a Goodwill about a month ago. I had my girlfriend with me, and she really likes Jurassic Park, so she asked me if I was gonna get it, and I was like, yeah, you know what, sure. And then, about a week after that, her and I went to a separate Goodwill, and I found the second Jurassic Park and the third one. Someone must have picked up the original Jurassic Park from that Goodwill, because I've heard that these movies absolutely suck. I have not seen either of them, but I bought them just to kind of complete the trilogy. Okay, up next, kind of transitioning from franchises to childhood classics, we have The Wizard of Oz. This is another one that I picked up from Goodwill, and like, guys, It's The Wizard of Oz. I'm 19 years old, I'm not afraid to say it, Wizard of Oz fucking slaps, dude. It is the greatest musical ever made, maybe other than South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. Actually, this version of the tape is rumored to have the hanging munchkin in the background. I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was a rumor, maybe about 10 years ago on the internet, that in the background of one of the shots of Wizard of Oz, there's a dangling munchkin from a tree, like a body of a munchkin who committed suicide during the filming of the movie. And it is true that the filming of this movie it was a very troubled production. There's a video by Emperor Lemon, one of my favorite YouTubers, talking about everything that went wrong during The Wizard of Oz and how the actors were treated. But in terms of an actor playing a munchkin that committed suicide, it's not the case. If you guys watch the movie, you can clearly tell that it's a bird spreading its own wings. And you can even see the bird in the background of the Tin Man song right before the scene. And then the rumor was like, oh, but in the Blu-ray version, they remastered it to make it look like a bird, but in the original VHS version, it was a hanging munchkin. And honestly, I was kind of scared to pick up this movie on VHS as a kid because 8-year-old Ian with unrestricted internet access, I saw like the movie, or the video rather, on YouTube of the hanging munchkin, and I was like, oh god, like, I remember even seeing this tape walking around at like an antique store or a Goodwill as a kid, and I was like, I can't buy this because it has the hanging munchkin on it. But I can assure you this tape more than likely does not have a dead munchkin in it. Well, I mean, they're technically all dead now, but you know what I mean. Actually, now that we're here, I have a VCR at my disposal. Why don't we go check? So, okay, let's see how this is going to go. Alright, so here we go. This is the scene in question where the hanging munchkin is supposedly in the background.
Jaws?
Now, yeah, okay, so that is where the hanging munchkin is supposedly. But you guys can clearly see, even on VHS, it's just a bird blending into a tree a little bit, and as soon as they walk by, yeah, you can see the wings spread. Now, people say that was a hanging munchkin because some talented editor put together the original suicidal munchkin video, and that is how the rumor started, because it does look very, very convincing. Whoever edited that did a very good job. Okay, anyway, now that we're done talking about suicidal munchkins, we can get into cartoons, childhood tapes. So this is one from my childhood. You can tell by the lack of slipcover and the amazing artistry on the tape. This is Cat Dog, Together Forever, obviously a Nickelodeon tape from the orange shell. And yeah, Cat Dog, I don't know what it was about Cat Dog that kind of drew me to it, but yeah, I mean, it's not quite as entertaining as something like SpongeBob. You know, I'm talking like in hindsight, like as a 19-year-old. Cat Dog is kind of bland in comparison to that, but I mean, it's still pretty good. It has the nostalgia factor to me. This has like 5 episodes on it. Each one of these episodes is a classic to me because I used to watch this tape all the time as a kid. And then, speaking of SpongeBob, we have yet another tape from my childhood. This one actually belonged to my brothers, and I ended up inheriting it as a result. Someone stepped on it, and that's a good sign. Yeah, this is the first SpongeBob tape that was ever made. Nautical nonsense, kind of like Cat Dog, 5 episodes. All very classic episodes. This has Ripped Pants, SB129, Texas, my favorite episode, The Graveyard Shift. Yeah, all these episodes hold a very, very fond place in my heart. The SpongeBob SquarePants movie, another Goodwill purchase from just a couple months ago. So, yeah, it has the boring black tape, kind of like nautical nonsense. I don't know why Nickelodeon stopped doing the orange tapes, but they stopped around the SpongeBob era. Still, great movie. Transitioning from Nickelodeon to Cartoon Network, this is the only Cartoon Network tape that I have. This has 2 episodes of Scooby-Doo on it, plus, I think, yeah, an extra episode of Huckleberry Hound and Dexter's Laboratory. So, yeah, this tape, I picked it up because it's Scooby-Doo, and I like Scooby-Doo, but this also has the pilot episode of Scooby-Doo on it, so I thought that was interesting enough to pick up, because you guys gotta understand, Goodwill sells their tapes for like 49 cents a piece. So, up next we have Toy Story. This is one that I used to have as a kid, but it got lost over time. I had this one in Toy Story 2. So yeah, this one, I found it at a Goodwill, I picked it up, and then opened up the tape and found out that it is covered in mold. So, that really sucks. So now I have an old, crusty, moldy, musty copy of Toy Story in my possession, so this tape is essentially useless. I should really throw it in the garbage. And then we have 2 different copies of Shrek, because whenever I was going to Goodwill with my girlfriend, we joked that we should each have a copy of Shrek, and she has not taken hers yet. But yeah, that's why I have 2 copies of Shrek, and these come both in like the big box. In comparison to a normal tape, it is pretty massive. And then as we're nearing the end of the classics, we get a little bit more obscure. This is Eyewitness Prehistoric Life. I found this at my grandparents' house, so I assume this belonged to my uncle back when he was a kid, because, you know, he was a 90s kid, he grew up in the 90s, and this is very much a 90s, again, kind of in the same vein as that Apollo VHS set that I showed you guys earlier, high school science classroom type vibes. Even, well, this is more so like elementary school vibes. And then we have another Goodwill purchase, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. I don't know why I really got this. Again, it's just a matter of Goodwill tapes are cheap, and I thought, you know, this is holiday season's coming up, so this is appropriate. And then finally, these last 2 tapes are, again, Goodwill purchases, but I got these maybe a year or 2 ago, and I'm looking to donate them to my father. He has a pool table in his basement now, so I'm looking to donate these tapes to him to kind of display on the wall or on a shelf near the pool table. I mentioned it to him, and he made a comment that he doesn't want any extra clutter in the basement, but I'm willing to make the argument that all the stuff he has down there is clutter, and these are relevant tapes to the cause, so I'm gonna donate them to him either way. But yeah, these are pool trick shot VHS tapes, which I think are both pretty interesting. Okay, now we get into the customs and the rarities, arguably the most interesting part of this video. Opening it up, we have the only Blockbuster videotape that I have. This was found in the basement of my stepmother's house, and it is the tape of the Stanley Kubrick movie. I think it's the last movie that he directed, Eyes Wide Shut. I've never seen it before, but the way that my dad described it, he described it as borderline pornographic, so that's pretty cool, I guess. So yeah, the only problem with this is that I would have watched this tape, but kind of like the Toy Story tape, this tape is covered in mold, which is really disappointing, but it is the only Blockbuster tape that I have, so I have it displayed very proudly in my room. Yeah, the tape has seen better days. It looks like someone wiped their ass with it at some point. But hey man, that's part of the charm with VHS, man. That's part of the charm. And then moving on to a custom tape that I have. This is Home Movies from Valachard Toys and Tapes. This is an Adult Swim show that I really relate to. It's all about this kid who makes home movies, takes it very, very seriously. I see a lot of myself in Brendan Small, or at least how I was as a kid, making all my skits and short films back when I was in high school. And I have not seen the whole show, but from what I have seen of the show, I've seen very little of it, but each episode that I've seen is very relatable, and I enjoy watching home movies on this medium because, of course, it is a very nostalgic Adult Swim 90s, 2000s type show, and he has not released the other 3 seasons on tape, but if and when he does, I will be purchasing them. It's really hard. This is like the only custom tape that I have because custom VHS tapes are really damn expensive, which sucks because custom DVDs are not expensive at all. Blank DVDs you can buy by the 100-pack spindle, you know, for relatively cheap. Custom tapes, you need to buy blank tapes and record over them. It's a very timely process. Making your own slipcover, you need to print it off on cardstock. And then these are some very interesting Goodwill purchases. I backed up these tapes, and they will be coming out on the YouTube channel in January and February because I think people might find interest in these. But these are great moments in Penn State football. They come in these library-style cases like the Blockbuster case. And yeah, this is Volume 2 and Volume 3. Could not find Volume 1, but this is a 3-volume set. Again, I backed up both of these tapes. They're coming out on the channel in January. And yeah, I mean, it makes sense because I do live in Pennsylvania, and I go to one of the branch campuses associated with Penn State. So it makes sense as to why I found these, but I looked them up on the internet. There is no, like, information on these tapes at all. The same day that I picked these up, I also picked up 2 more Penn State football tapes. These 2 were produced 2 years later in 1987, and I also backed these up. These ones will be coming out on the channel in February. So yeah, similarly to the last set of tapes, this is a 4-volume set, only could find Volume 4, and Volume 2. So, and then getting into tapes that I have made myself, this is Ian Meyers Vlogs Volume 1. I showed off these tapes in my digital files on VHS tapes video, so I will not go super in-depth on these tapes specifically. I will just be showing this one. But yeah, this was like my first introduction to custom tape making. A lot of fun to make. I really like putting my own material on VHS, and you know damn well whenever I'm done with my new video project, which you guys will get more information on that in the end of your update video, I will be putting that on VHS eventually, but obviously that's not top priority. That's just something that I'll do to kill some time a year or so from now. Anyway, getting into the final few tapes, this is Rivers, Whitewater Rafting. This is actually a compilation of two separate tapes recorded by my father. He went whitewater rafting in West Virginia, I think? Yeah, West Virginia, and he went with a couple of his old work buddies back in the early 2000s, and he went 2 separate years, and they kind of, from my understanding, the people at the whitewater rafting place kind of made a compilation with each team that would like come in and do whitewater rafting. So my dad went twice, and this is like a compilation of both of those tapes, because I think he told me that buying the tapes straight from the place was like really expensive. So what they did is all of his work friends pitched in money to buy 1 copy of each tape, and then they just got a couple of blank VHS tapes and copied them, and that is what this is. The slipcover, I don't know where the slipcover came from, because if that story is true, and if these are, you know, because, you know, this is just a blank tape, and this is my dad's handwriting on the tape. And actually, I know that this is a second generation copy of the tape, because whenever you get to the second half of the tape, whenever it switches out to the second year, you can see the time code like burnt into the into the tape itself. So the slipcover, I have no idea where it came from. I don't know if my dad was like me back in the day and went through the trouble of making it look super legit with like a full cover art. But yeah, I don't know. I'll have to ask him. Well, hell, he's probably watching this video. Dad, comment. What did you do with this tape? I'm curious. And actually, speaking of curiosity, I did call the number here, and the company is still afloat. No pun intended. Well, pun actually absolutely intended. Number still works, you know. I called the number a few years ago, and some lady picked up the phone and said, "Hello, Rivers Whitewater Rafting, how can I help you?" And then I just hung up right after that, but yeah, so number still works. So if you guys are interested in going whitewater rafting, I've heard that it is very fun. So go to West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country roads. And then this is just a random 8-hour tape that I have whenever it comes to testing out something on VHS or putting a video of mine on VHS just to see how it looks. This is the tape that I use. This is like the BHP test tape. Like, this is the tape that I filmed the VHS camcorder video on, you know, stuff like that. Okay, we're almost done here, guys, I swear. This is the TSA video challenge tape, another one that came from my grandparents' house. This belonged to my uncle. My uncle is not in this video, but judging from the year that it was made, 2005, he's like the only one that this tape could have originated from. This is an old school project, and this tape is so fascinating to me because it shows footage of the high school that I went to back around the time that I was born. So yeah, a very interesting tape to watch. It's actually really cool because if you watch the tape, whenever the video ends, it shows like an old school editor for like 15 minutes or something, and then the tape runs out and the tape ends. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting to see. I don't know what editor that is, but it kind of gives me like a window to the past, so to speak, which I think is really, really cool. And then this is another one that came from my grandparents' house. This has an old TV recording of the movie Grease on it. And this is actually, I have a video, it's unlisted on the channel now, but I made it back over quarantine where I put Rise of Skywalker on VHS. This is the tape that I used that for. So this is also kind of like a test guinea pig type tape. These are the last 2 tapes that I really have to show. Again, these come from my dad, old TV recordings. This one is marked as Stargate, which my dad was a huge fan of back in the day. I never really got into Stargate, but I heard that it was really good. I heard that the movie itself kind of deals with like the pyramids and like ancient Egypt, which sounds really interesting to me. Stargate is similar to something like Deep Space Nine. Like, I know that I need to watch it, but it's just such like a daunting task, you know, like Stargate, that's like an entire franchise with a bunch of different shows. So I don't know if I'm ever gonna get into Stargate, but I know it's something that I need to watch eventually. And then this tape, I got really excited excited whenever I found this tape, like in the shed or something, because it's marked as South Park. But I think at one point, yes, this tape did have South Park on it, but I think my dad's budget may have ran thin at some point in his life, so he reused some of his blank tapes, so this does not have South Park on it. I think at one point it did, but he taped over it with some sci-fi show called Eureka. I don't know if that show's any good or not, but I don't think it's good enough to erase the episodes of South Park that were on this tape at one point, so thanks, Dad. So yeah, this was fun to do, to kind of just shoot the shit, talk about movies. So thanks again for 500 subs, and, you know, again, thanks for 600 subs, you know, we surpassed the next milestone before I was even able to film this video. So in terms of more videos coming out this year, there's only going to be one more video, which is the end of year update. And then I'm curious, I want to get audience feedback on this. If you guys are interested in participating in a custom DVD giveaway, I'm willing to do that for 500 subs. Granted, it'll be a while before I actually make the custom DVD, but by the time I get it made, I will make a separate video talking about the giveaway. I'm thinking about just making a compilation DVD of like all like the VHS content that I've made. Also, in addition to letting me know if you guys want a giveaway, let me know what videos you guys want to see for 2024. A big chunk of the year is going to be taken up by the new video project, and I will get, again, more details will be spilled about that in the end of year update, but you know, that's the thing about doing YouTube as a hobby. It's kind of hard to come up with like new video ideas, so let me know what you guys want to see, and I may or may not end up doing it. So yeah, again, hope you guys enjoyed, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Thanks again for 500 subs, and yeah, that's it. Peace.